We are competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
So, welcome to Radio Intentional Decisions during this broadcast called Best for the World broadcast. And today, Radio Intentional Decisions is hosted by me, Stella Nordahl. And I have invited two guests to talk about intentional decisions in circular and sharing economy, and that is Chandru and Vashni. And maybe you should just be able to say hello to the audience, and we can start with you, Vashni. What is bringing you here today to have this conversation?
It's you, Stellan. So basically, I'm Vaishnavi, and I'm very happy to be part of this conversation to have a discussion around sharing, because over the last 3 years, I've been working with a concept called Cohabit, and we are a circular business reintegrating resources back in the local economy. And there's a lot that we've learned, and it would be really amazing to have a conversation around what is it that we can do more and what all of us can do together everywhere.
And we have met twice before. It's quite good to say, because when the listener is listening in, we at least have some idea on who the other one is. Yeah. But we also have, for me, a totally new relation here today, and that is Chandru. And good to have you here, Chandru.
Hey, hi. Thank you, Stuart.
What is your take on having such a conversation on circular and sharing economy?
It's always an interesting conversation when it comes to circular economy, because for the 3 years that we have been working with Cohabit along with Vaishnavi, and it has given a lot of insights and always good conversations, and everyone who are united towards sustainable goal or even towards circularity. So the community is building. I would like to be part of it, and at the same time it feels sense of achievement, or I would say it feels sense of we do something good, and that's always feeling good about it. And then this is actually quite a surprise. She mentioned that we're going to be here, and then it's like we're going live, so I'm excited as well. So, and it's glad to meet such a wonderful audience, and then who are listening to this, and you as well.
And I think there are two audiences always, or maybe three. There are those who are joining and listening, and those who don't. And then there is also us. I mean, we're actually audience to ourselves, and can we explore a little bit more about how circular and sharing economy works?
Yes,
and I mean, there are two words here, circular and sharing. Shall we start with one of them or both of them, or what do you believe is it like? Sharing is a part of the circular, right? Or how can we denominate it or identify it, or even maybe have a definition here?
I think sharing is one way to be circular, in the sense that we can reuse, we can refurbish, and what happens in sharing resources is we find new value for a material that someone else has lost value for, or sometimes I don't need it actively right now, but I know someone else who can still be benefiting from using that same resource. And where it becomes integrated with sustainability is because we are living on a limited planet, and our consumption has become unlimited, or rather we have abundant need with very limited resources, and we have to learn to share more. We have to learn to reuse, re-engage with the resources, and also reevaluate how we are living our life.
And at the same time, I think when it comes to sharing, that brings people together.
Yeah.
So one willing to offer and the one willing to accept. So that I think itself is a good human connection which sharing brings. And then being in a circular economy, and the circularity itself is promoting the sharing. Without sharing, and these cannot exist without each other. So that's always good.
And I've always thought of a circular as taking care of everything, and sharing is like you had some reuse what was all of the please just give me one more time, because there are many new
I think the
words here.
academic perspective brings 9 different ways in which something can be circular. And that's a very beautiful butterfly model that is got a
the circular part, but the
Exactly.
sharing part, what is that? Is that only to use the same resource, or is it?
sharing is an idea, and it is possible for us to apply that idea in many different ways. When it comes to physical resources, it becomes possible for us to share in the sense of more than one person having access to the same resource. It can also take the form that I don't need it anymore, and it's a transfer of resource from one person to another without having to own it or to claim ownership over it in the typical way of how we are consuming in the linear economy. And those are the two ideas around sharing when it comes to resources. But the idea of sharing itself is very broad. It can apply to ideas, it can apply to space, it can apply to the whole earth, in the sense that we are all sharing it with all the other species, and there is no particular way in which it is defined for us. So it's a very broad concept. When it comes to circularity, when it comes to resources, then it becomes a little bit of overlap between what is circular, what is sharing, and also how can we be sustainable within that.
And I think humans have evolved so far by sharing the knowledge, so that one has with the other. So that it's in itself is like it's needed rather than however you put it. Yeah.
Okay, so talking about intentional decisions, for me it's about wholeness, and sharing. A circular can definitely be quite whole, but how whole is the sharing economy today? I mean, how much do we share? Does anyone know that level of sharing? I mean, most of stuff we own, like
Yes.
at least we claim that we own it. So,
That's true.
and what parts have you seen? I mean, you're into furniture.
Yes.
How many business model have you seen within the sharing part?
I know of the concept of Mobla library or Mobla bibliothek, which was something a friend built when she was in her university. And that's basically one of the ways in which furniture can be shared without it having to be owned. Another way in which sharing usually happens is on Freo stuff or any of the online places where people are willing to give away furniture because they see that someone else can still have it without having to pay for it, or even on online platforms where people are trying to sell, there is still transfer of ownership, and that is also another way of sharing without it being quantified in the typical commercial terms. And I think that is where it is also difficult to aggregate it, because there's a lot of
Waste.
sharing that happens which is not in the organized form of a business.
No, that's right. Have you seen? And I mean, we have built if you use the word economy for a while, then
Yes.
we have built an economy that is more or less transactional.
Yes.
And sharing is not part of it, actually, because if we share, we don't contribute to one of the tax bases. At least in Sweden, one of the tax bases is consumption.
Yeah.
And how have you related to that?
From an economic perspective, there are a lot of resources we share. For example, all of the public goods, be it the roads, be it all of the infrastructure that's built for public to use, are shared.
Yeah.
But what happens is when we are trying to quantify it, we are only talking about what happens inside a household or inside a company. And in those cases, we limit our understanding of sharing to, okay,
That's super interesting what you're into now. Yeah.
and that is where the distinctions are also getting into a gray zone. Okay, at what point do you count the sharing that happens? For example, when you're passing by a cycling Loma and there are beautiful flowers that's just growing on the side of the road, and that is part of the local economy, and that is growing, and that's benefiting everyone who's passing by. That's a common good. And that's not claiming anyone as the owner, and no one is going to say this is my flower and I have full ownership of how beautiful it is.
Okay, so could it be then that we have limited this sharing economy right now to, as you said, the whole system of municipalities and states and so on is based on some kind of a co-ownership or whatever we can call it. The state is owning it or the municipality, and that's us. So if we exclude that for a while in the conversation and just use sharing as what you do, you are into a business model where the alternative is to buy a furniture and that when you have finished using it, either it's destroyed or it's reused or maybe it's sold or something like that. So could it be that the sharing economy, our understanding of it, is right now limited to substitutes or alternatives to the consumption?
Yes. I want to also clarify, when it comes to furniture, it is not only that it can be recycled or it can be destroyed. It's a lot more complex as a good because it is always a mix of multiple materials. So which makes it difficult to pull apart and also handle it in the right way. And if we don't have all the infrastructure in place, the only option that's left is to let it go into an incinerator. We still gain energy out of the process, but it's a lot of resource that is wasted, which could be put to alternate use. And that is where we are trying to step in and say, okay, if there is a possibility to extend the functional life of the furniture, we will try and do that by reintegrating. Because sharing in the concept of physical resources is by finding new value to it. So I have read a book, and then I have so many books that are just sitting in my
Like here in
Exactly.
the library.
I love the idea of having books that I love, but beyond one read, I'm not really going to use it again.
Yeah, but it can have multi-purpose. Just to feel a little bit better at heart here is that it's very beautiful to
Yes,
have
it
in the
is.
background. But I definitely understand what you mean, and I also share what you say in terms of there is like even if there are multiple values, the main value from start at least. Otherwise, it could be just the backside of the books here and so on. So okay, so that's an interesting
I
take.
think I
and-
have one example when it comes to sharing economy, which I've noticed in the Sickle Shoket, the bike kitchen that I'm part of, and then that brings people together, and then the tools are being shared, wherein I just use it to fix my bike when I need it. I don't need to buy for one-time purpose, and at the same time, I don't want to take it to store every time that I can fix a problem. It's just that the lack of tools and the lack of knowledge that is stopping me from going about it. But Bike Kitchen was able to bridge that, and I get people who share their knowledge as well and help me to how to fix it, and I can use their tool as well. So these are all, but in a way, it does not take away the consumption itself. When it's
No.
beyond your level of what you cannot fix,
Yeah.
then you definitely need to take it to experts. So it can coexist.
Your business model, just for you hire more or less. You rent out.
Yes, we rent out
furniture. So one way could be like doing the same as with the roads and with the schools and so on. We have a community that owns it.
Exactly.
And that's another way of finding a business model. And what I'm looking for is like, what ways can we denominate sharing economy so it doesn't only has to be in opposition or in as an alternative to consumption, because then again we're very limited in the concept. For instance, if we have a community, one way is to share it within that community, but we could also use it in connection to the experts. I mean, this tool, whatever it is, could be used both by a professional and by someone like me fixing this bike or whatever it is. And have you seen such business models when you? I mean, I guess that you really searched for how should we set up Cohabit here.
I want to go back to what you started with in terms of being intentional, and that is probably how Cohabit came upon, because what we did was, when we set up our home, we wanted to try and avoid as much of the linear consumption. And that's how we got to understand the problem that exists in the Swedish context, that when you get an apartment, it's going to be completely empty, not even the lights in the socket. So that was a surprise for me, and I'm sure it's a surprise for a lot of people who are moving to Sweden for the first time and shifting apartments. So in that process, we discovered that yes, this is a problem that exists for me, and in the process of solving my problem, I have the choice to either go into the linear consumption mode, or I can try and see how much I can consume in the circular way. Because I don't believe anyone is trying to pollute the planet by living their life.
No.
But in the process of living, in the process of trying to make our lives a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more convenient in our day-to-day decisions, we end up making choices that are not always good for the planet.
Yeah, maybe not good for us either, because I listened into, I think it was either a newspaper article the other day, or if it was like a program on the news, I don't remember, but it was about the clothes, and right now we're sitting in Sweden, the three of us, and we had a big industry by ourselves, but today a lot of things are imported, and that's maybe good. I don't know. That's something we could have also as a discussion. But the recent years, a lot of the production has been done in a way that isn't good for the workers. It's not good for the environment, and when the clothing comes to you order it like on the internet from some kind of platforms, it's not even possible to use it as the first purpose, because it's so the quality is not made for 50 years of use, or 5 years of use, or even 5 times of use. It's down to more or less one or less.
I think that goes back to being intentional in our shopping, but also intentional in what makes us shop. And it can get very philosophical in terms of where that influence is coming from. Are you aware of where your needs are? What is your need to kind of have that one-time use of that, whatever looks fancy in that clothing? But it is possible that we are doing this in every aspect of our life, whether consciously or not. And if we are able to make some choices and not have a bad experience with, okay, I'm going to try out the sharing economy, circular economy, and I don't have a bad experience, I'm a little bit more influenced to try it again. And if we give that positive experience to more and more people, I think we can shift slowly away from.
And that was actually where I wanted to come with this, because when you more or less impact people with the sharing economy idea, have you seen any other signs, at least, or of those people, both the awareness and raising consciousness about how we can make those intentional decisions? Have you seen that among the, what do you call us, customers? If we rent from Cohabit, are we then customers?
For a lot of our customers, it's not that they have been renting furniture in any other places before. And it's not a completely novel concept, but it's not as popular as buying. And because of that, we do introduce the idea of circular consumption to a lot of people. We do introduce the problem of why they shouldn't always dispose of furniture just because they don't need it. And in that process, we also help them become champions, because we always say, okay, if you know someone else who is also going to need it, please pass it on, because this particular bed that you're returning, it can still serve 3-4 other people.
Yeah, and that's a way of pay it forward also, because you by sharing the knowledge that you could rent instead of buy, and then you have to sell if you're here for a shorter time period, I guess, then it's actually a part of the sharing itself. You're sharing, you're being not only a customer, you're also being a co-producer or co-creator.
We call them champions.
Champions.
Yes.
I love that.
And also, I think when our customers, when they are here for their short time, and when they are done and go back to wherever they come from, or they even start their life, and I think at some point it sparks their mind that okay, there is a possibility. I had a good experience over here on using the used furniture, and then it is good. So they will consciously or unconsciously look for, oh, okay, when try to find something new, can I do it which is sustainable, and then which can be circular. So the idea of that thought, it is possible, is what is what we are creating. For example, with the buying options that you have mentioned compared to earlier that was made on now, because it is available online, and then we are able to order it easily. So that's one of the ways that people are thinking, oh, this is an easy one. Whereas if that was not available, people would not have thought about it. Maybe they would have visited the store, and then the traditional model would have continued. But still, making the sharing and circular economy, there is option available. If you are ready to, if you want to choose, then there is something available. So that's what we are facilitating and then promoting the
and now I have an idea. Then I'm thinking of a part of the sharing economy is also sharing the ideas and business model itself.
Yes.
And have you found yourself any partners and other companies? I mean, for instance, what would happen if IKEA joined Cohabit?
We're very happy if such a big organization decides to go in the direction of being circular. Circular in the sense of not bringing in new resources into the economy. What we've been actively doing is to avoid any kind of new consumption that comes into the business operation itself. Of course, we are buying some things that are consumables, for example, cleaning solutions, all of that goes in the process of operations. But the whole materials, all of our furniture are coming from after being used by someone else. And it will continue to be used by a lot more people.
I love that.
I think that is where we are finding it difficult to find a lot of people willing to go fully circular, because the idea of circularity is so broad that people are able to say, okay, by reusing, I'm still being circular. But are you starting with reuse, or are you starting with a new resource that you then continue to reuse?
Yeah, that's also a good question. And that could also have an impact on the other way around. How do we look at virgin material, and how do we look at not only reuse but also reimagination, more or less? You have to, okay, how can I use this in another way, or can anyone else use it in any other way?
Exactly. I think that gives us a lot of opportunity to get creative, very imaginative, and also innovate in what are the new ways in which we can make more out of what is already available. There's enough in the world that we don't have to produce more. But how can we find new ways to make value out of it? And right now I'm going to complete my master's in service management, and the core of that is always what is value creation. And value creation doesn't mean it comes from new resources. It's finding new value in existing resources. And that is at the core of circularity.
Yeah, but then we have this, maybe I shouldn't call it or denominate it a problem, more or less it's the setup that we have, that the economy, if we use the terminology again, is based upon some kind of a tax base, and that tax base, at least in Sweden, one of them, we have two tax bases, big ones. The first one is the consumption, and the other one is work. And if we just stay with consumption for a while, as long as we have that as a base, then we have a problem then, because then you have this idea of economic growth. I don't know if it's even necessary to have that, but let's say we have it, and that means when you share or something lives longer or is used longer, it's actually not contributing during that term in a consumption way. You consume it when you buy it. It's not when you use it.
Yeah.
So there is like some kind of a system flaws here, system design that needs to be reimagined, I guess.
I agree, because we are thinking about a system that is built in a way for more and more growth to happen, and our lifestyle is dependent on earning money by working in that growth model. But if our life is not dependent on that growth model, but rather on our ability to share and live well without having to buy, or without having to, I'm not saying without having to consume, because every single day we are going to consume.
Yes.
That is not something that we will stop until the day that we die, and that's for all of us. But does it mean that we also need to buy? And is it possible for us to find more value in sharing in more ways in our everyday life? And this was possible when we were more local, when we were smaller in how we organized ourselves. Because it's not just in India. Even here, I've heard about smaller groups in the past that used to live together as a collective of not more than 40, 50 houses that formed a small town, and they had everything that they needed within that space.
Yeah, and that's interesting from many perspectives, I guess. And when I was a kid, my grandma, she also prolonged the life of a material, for instance, a sock,
Yeah.
or a T-shirt or a button or whatever it was. And I know whether we back then maybe not laughed at her, but we like, okay, is that necessary? And I believe today that it is.
Yeah.
So it's not only sharing; it's also how we share it during the time period. How do we can we upgrade it a little bit? What was broken can be fixed, and what is already working could be working for a longer time. And when something has served its purpose, can it find another purpose, and so on. So and what I'm thinking of here is that how can we integrate this thinking, because that's what you say when you about your customers here, that you introduce this thinking, and that's a great way to do it. Of course, when you do the business, you also do the philosophy or the learning experience there. But how can we integrate that into the system, that thinking?
I think that's the way of like if more businesses are going circular and thinking about it. I think at any point in time, I don't believe this will stop the consumption or even the production itself. So we are looking at striking a balance between those. So even if in an ideal or some situation where we can vision for or dream of like everything is circular and then completely, then at some point in time we will run out of things that we have. Then we need to produce more little bit. But again, there will be a conscious choice of do we need to produce in a bulk that caters to everybody, replacing everything new, or it just like only when it is needed. So if somebody wants to upgrade, they can even use the sharing economy and then try to upgrade it whichever they want, and then the next level they have something. So based on the needs, I think it can be done, and everybody can still decide to do it. But again, the circular consumption is choice, and which can be convenient, and it is also can be looked at. So I don't think it's at a state wherein it will directly impact the consumption at a big scale, because the consumption and then the production has been there for a very long time.
I'm thinking now of something you said here previously, Vaishnavi, and that is it's hard to aggregate. But then I'm thinking of, could we aggregate instead of the transactional part of it, could we aggregate the lifetime maybe of something? That could be of interest, and saying, okay, so this sock has been used for 3 years, or this sofa has been for 52 years, or this chair it's for 3 weeks, or whatever it is. That could be of interest, because I mean, that we do on the food, actually. We put a label on it already, saying this is the expected lifetime, but you can also use it afterwards. Maybe we should put that on stuff and have like a life expectancy. I mean,
That would be very interesting. I think we have to consider the durability of the item, because when we are talking about food, it is something that will decompose over time. But when we are talking about items that don't have that kind of immediate decomposition, it also reduces in its quality depending on how it is used. For example, a cloth which you've used every single day will have a different kind of quality at the end of maybe a year.
I understand, but
compared to something that you don't.
what it would make with us is that it would make us. We would need to think of it and also relate the quality to the lifetime expectancy, more or less, because if we talk about, for instance, a telephone today, an iPhone, whatever smartphone you have. The material itself is not a problem here. It's something else, but that is also part of the lifetime expectancy. When I buy something, I would like to use it and not having to replace it after a certain time of, I don't know, years, hopefully at least. But I mean, I'm thinking of there are products having a lifetime expectancy. For instance, light bulbs. It says on them the lifetime expectancy in hours, actually. So maybe we should think of this idea a little bit more. Maybe, I don't know. We're going to have to wrap this conversation up because we're part of a big concept here called Best for the World Broadcast, but I would like to re-invite you to talk about the circular part of the circular and sharing economy, because now we have been talking a lot of the sharing economy.
Yes.
And for me at least, this has been very revitalizing. I've been thinking a lot on how can we talk about those business models and way of thinking and way of doing, actually, and way of living, because today it's very often reduced to maybe a certain business model or a community or what it is, but it's actually a philosophy, more or less.
Yes, I would definitely say it is a philosophy. It's definitely from a way of thinking, in the sense that we value things that we use and then dispose of. But if we were to not take it for granted that we have the resources today, and if we attach a little bit more value to it and be more frugal in our access to resource and also use of resources, I think it will benefit all of us.
So thank you both of you for bicycling to Lomma and also experience and sharing the travel here, as you mentioned, the flower on the way and so on. And also thank you very much for sharing your knowledge about this concept or philosophy or whatever we call it, business model, or even if we reduce it to a product.
I think be it any of those, let's talk more about sharing. So that itself is, I think, it's a good thing about it. So that's what we believe.
And we're going to share something tonight. We're going to share a dinner together, and I'm very glad that you would like to stay on that one. We are preparing for the Earth Hour later on today. So if there are any live audience right now, welcome back. We will also have a new stream here in 10 minutes, but we will have the preparation for Earth Hour at 8 o'clock, and I think it's 8:30 that's Earth Hour starts, right?
Yeah.
So then we're shutting down all the systems, and we will have a dinner in candlelight here in Lomma.
Awesome.
So
Thank
thank
you
you
so much.
everyone, and thank you all of you who have listened in, and if you want to contact Vaishnavi and
Chandru.
Chandru.
No problem.
You find them on Cohabit's website,
Yes.
and
Yes.
please contact us, and see ya. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.